Hey, it's Sam from Sugar Spun Run, and today I'm going to be making a simple cherry tomato pasta sauce. Today's recipe is a great way to use up excess cherry tomatoes from your garden. It makes a nice light pasta sauce. I'm obsessed with this one. I don't say that a lot, but I really am. I could eat this every night. It's nice and simple, so let's get started. Today's recipe comes together on the stovetop. You're going to want to grab a large skillet, and we're going to start by adding 1/4 cup of olive oil to this. This sauce is not like a marinara sauce that's, very red. It covers the pasta with all of its like redness and texture. This is a much lighter sauce where you get a very, very fresh flavor, and it does necessitate the use of more olive oil than you use in many of my sauce recipes. So we're going to get this olive oil warmed up. I'm going to turn my stovetop heat to medium. And once this is nice and warm, we're going to add some garlic. So rather than mince the garlic, what I do is I take 5 nice sized big garlic cloves and I peel them, and then I like to just smash these under the blade of a knife. Mincing works nicely in a lot of cases, but here I wanted to get that nice garlic infusion. I found that doing this really does give you a really nice full-bodied flavor, but without all of the texture from the minced garlic. It just works a little bit differently, but if you are a hardcore minced garlic fan, that will work instead. We'll add these to the oil. Now I like to add a little bit of heat to my sauce, so I'm going to add like a pinch of crushed red pepper here as well. I don't want to add too much because, I do hope my kids will eat this as well, but you can add more or less according to taste. Say this is like an 1/8 teaspoon. So I'm going to stir this occasionally for like 3 to 5 minutes. I do not want the garlic to brown. I just want to get a nice infusion into that oil. In fact, if it's sizzling and cooking too much or starting to get brown, I would turn down your heat a little bit. I'm going to turn down my heat just a notch further, just below medium. And now I'm going to add my tomatoes. So you're going to need about 4 heaping cups of cherry tomatoes. This is like 22 ounces or 623 grams. And we are going to add these very carefully because we don't want to splash ourselves with the oil. And of course, I've washed these tomatoes and dried them. You really do want to dry them because any water that's on them is going to sizzle in the pot. You can see I didn't even do that great of a job drying them because they're sizzling. So along with the tomatoes, I like to add either a 1/2 teaspoon of table salt, or I'm just going to be grinding my own fine sea salt. Make sure it is really fine. And like a 1/4 teaspoon of finely ground black pepper. Stir that in as well. Now I'm going to continue to cook these until the tomatoes start to burst, but also right about now is when I like to get my pasta cooking. So I like to use a long thin noodle. I'm using spaghetti today, and I'm just going to start cooking this according to package instructions in some well salted water. Now, before you drain your pasta, you are going to want to make sure you reserve, I'd say at least a 1/4 cup of that pasta water. That's going to be really important later on. Now, I also want to talk for a second about sugar. So in the ingredients, I have a little bit of sugar listed as an optional or as needed. This is going to depend 100% on the flavor of your cherry tomatoes. So much of this recipe is riding on the flavor of your cherry tomatoes, actually. If they're not really ripe and flavorful, your sauce is going to be lackluster. However, these tomatoes can vary in terms of sweetness, and if your sauce is a little bit acidic, you're going to want to add a little bit of sugar. I find I usually need to add or like to add like a 1/2 teaspoon, but if you want to wait and taste test, you can add it then. I know what I like. I've made this a lot, so I'm just going to add my sugar here right now so it cooks with those tomatoes. And again, this is a 1/2 teaspoon of granulated sugar. Oh, and something else I wanted to talk about is with this garlic, about now is when I will remove it from the pot and discard it. You could actually remove it before you add the cherry tomatoes if you prefer. Obviously, you can't do this if you used minced garlic. But the garlic has done its job of infusing flavor, and we are effectively finished with it at this point. So as the sauce cooks, the tomatoes are going to start to break down for you, and you can mash them as much or as little as you'd like. Some people don't care for the tomato skins, and I have found that how much texture they add can sort of vary from tomato to tomato. They don't bother me, but some people like to puree their sauce with an immersion blender to make it nice and smooth. That will give you a more velvety, more red, similar to marinara sauce, but I personally like the sauce a little bit chunkier. So as I'm cooking this, I'm breaking up these tomatoes with my spatula to make it even more smooth. You could mash the tomatoes with a potato masher instead. Do whatever you prefer. But I want these tomatoes broken up. I don't want to see any whole tomatoes remaining. So once these are broken up to my liking, but you can see I still have chunks remaining because that's how I like it and how I recommend it, we're going to take some basil. So I've got like 10, I call for 10 large basil leaves. So they're starting to wilt a little bit. And I just like to tear them into small pieces, drop them in my sauce. You could cut the basil instead if you want, cut it into really thin ribbons. I just prefer to tear it. This sauce just has such a nice fresh flavor. So if you grew cherry tomatoes this year, if you grew basil this year, it's a really nice way to use those ingredients. We'll stir this into the sauce. All right, so I let this continue to cook until my pasta is done, or if the pasta finishes first, make sure your tomatoes are nice and broken down. And misplaced my tongs. I have my 8 ounces of cooked spaghetti. I'm going to carefully add into the sauce. And don't forget, we reserved some of that pasta water. So I reserved a 1/4 cup. I'm only gonna add like 2 tablespoons right now. I'll save this in case I need it. Because this starchy pasta water works really, really well to emulsify the sauce and the pasta together. So I turn up the heat very slightly. We were on low heat right there because I was letting the tomatoes sit while the pasta finished cooking. So I turn it up a little bit and I cook these together until I feel like I'm happy with the way the sauce is clinging to the pasta. And I really love what a nice light sauce this is and just how flavorful it is. But again, you're only gonna get that nice flavor if you have nice tomatoes. So use fresh in-season cherry tomatoes, the kind that you enjoy just, eating right off the vine. And when you serve this, make sure you serve it with some Parmesan cheese. Oh, it's so good. Another good thing to do while your pasta's finishing cooking is to taste test your sauce and add a little more salt, pepper, or sugar, or anything that it might need, crushed red pepper if you want to add that. You can do it after the pasta's added as well. Just a little easier for something to do while you're waiting for the pasta to finish cooking. It smells so good. All right, that is how you make, my messy but so good cherry tomato sauce pasta. Maybe one day I'll learn to plate it like a pro. Make sure to top yours with some freshly grated Parmesan cheese. I'm so excited to eat this. And a little bit of fresh basil also works nicely. And that is how I use up my fresh garden cherry tomatoes. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. If you try it, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. I always do love hearing from you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh man, eating spaghetti on camera makes me nervous. I can't even eat it without an audience. This is perfect. So as this sauce cooks, this pasta is blueberry frosting on my camera. I don't even know how I did that. I don't know what to do.